If you get on an airplane, what's the first thing they say? If we run into a problem, the oxygen mask will drop down, grab it, and put it on your child immediately. Is that what they say? No, they say put it on yourself. That sounds so selfish. But why? Because if you don't put it on yourself, you can't help your child. So we're going to start with us, and then we can start expanding, helping others. And we're already doing it. In your name, 1 million people are going to have food that didn't have it before. But more importantly, when we get stronger these next 4 or 5 days, it's not just going to affect you. It's going to affect your kids, your husband, your wife, your coworkers, the people around you. You understand that this and this, the head and heart, that's where the whole game of life is played. And if we want to see what shapes our life, it's invisible forces, corny as that may sound. I mean, what affects your life the most? Things that are invisible. Radiation. Too little, we're dead. Too much, we're dead. You have to have that perfect amount that this planet of ours seems to be in this Goldilocks location, just far enough away from the sun, just close enough for life to flourish. Think about it. Electricity. Electricity, most people have no idea how it works, but they use it all the time. It's invisible. Electricity is how we're able to have this experience around the world in 195 countries right now. Electricity can be used to light up a city or it can be used to kill somebody. So every tool, every invisible force has strengths and weaknesses. We have to learn how to use it. But the most powerful invisible force, I believe, is human emotion, right? What we do with our head and heart. Because anger, rage, love, compassion, those invisible forces shape the quality of your life more than anything else on this earth. I know so many people are in a tough place, but we got tools that can make that difference. And I'm not saying that's some hyper positive, optimistic bullshit. I don't believe in positive thinking. I believe in intelligence. I believe in seeing things as they are, but not making it worse than it is. That's what most people do. They make it worse than it is because they're afraid to get their hopes up and be disappointed. But if you don't ever get your hopes up, if you don't ever get disappointed, you're never going to find your drive. We have to discipline our disappointment because there's plenty of it. We're in the middle of winter. There's going to be more. We're not done with what's happening in society. So instead of sitting there and hoping it gets better and praying it gets better, how about you pray and demand that you get better? So in order to get that in our bodies, in order to get to that place, to master more of that internal world, to find the emotions that will get us to follow through instead of pull back, change our relationships, change our career, make it in the middle of all this craziness, still turn it to your advantage. We're going to have to make a psychological change. But to do that requires a simple fundamental that we all know and few people practice. Energy. Energy is life. When your energy is low, what happens to your psychology, to your mindset? When it's low enough, you ever been in a place where you're just so exhausted, so laid out, it's just like, oh my God, I can't even handle more of this stuff. And then what happens in that state? Everything is difficult. Everything is a burden. Everything is hard. And as a result, you don't do a lot of things you could do. But when your energy is high, for whatever happened, let's say somebody got you laughing, or you went and did a workout, and you're feeling damn good, and your whole body is engaged, and you feel this aliveness. Now, problems are things you love to attack. You rip them open. You spend 5% of your time on the problem and 95% of your time on the solution. That's what makes you a leader. So for us to get to that, we need to train ourselves to be energetic. People are going to say things, they're going to react to each other, they're going to respond in ways that really aren't a reflection of who they are, they're a reflection of the state they're in. How many of you have ever snapped at somebody, had nothing to do with them, it was just the state you're in, your body was hurting, you're going to something? Who's ever done this? Raise your hand, say I. But the problem is, we have a much higher standard of what we expect from our spouse. And when they do something like that, we rarely forget it, right? And so then it starts to stack. So as Chloe described the process of stacking great memories, most people get to where they are to the point of seeking you out because they've stacked the negative experiences. They didn't just take one experience and come to you. It's a series of experiences usually that have stacked and stacked and stacked until now. It's like if I took my arm here and I rubbed your arm like this, no problem. But if you get a scab there and we touch you with a feather, you're going to jump out of your skin. It's the same thing of where people are. So building emotional fitness is the number one gift you can give anybody. Because otherwise, if they come sit down, and I can't stand it when I sit down with couples like this, they're such whiners. And I just tell them that. He does this, she does that. I say, do you know what you sound like? Let me record this and play it back for you. Because we live in a world where everybody's focused on what they're not getting. And as you do that, there is no relationship. A relationship, when you're in love with somebody, what will you do for them? What? It's not a trade. It's not okay, I did this because you did that. That's it. All you have is a transaction. That's why I honestly don't like the word partner. Because partner, it's a transaction. You got a business going. We got a deal here. We got some rules that we abide by. And I think that is a reflection of what most marriages have become today, because our culture has hypnotized us. Our culture has hypnotized us into believing that this is what you should adjust to. And frankly, I know many therapists who are constantly trying to adjust to someone and say, well, no, this is just, you have to adjust to this stage of your relationship. This is where it is now. That spark that people had initially can come alive at any point, but it can't happen without the emotional fitness.
How many of you have ever screwed up? Can I see a show of hands? How many of you have ever snapped at somebody and had nothing to do with them? It was just your state. You were so stressed about something else. How many have done this even with people you totally love, like your children? Just think about that. Now, when the doctor does that, instead of going, he has no right to do that, you're right, he has no right to do it. You're absolutely right. And you need to help him so he doesn't do that anymore. You need to help him, not make him wrong. If you make him wrong, is that going to enroll him in not doing this again, yes or no? Doctor, when all of a sudden you keep asking your staff and they don't deliver something you need, does that mean they're incompetent? Mean they don't care? Mean they're not as committed as you? You're working to the bone, you don't have any time? You're not even getting paid, they're getting paid, they must not care about you. Is that what it means? No. What might it mean? They're overloaded, they're overworked. You beat them to a pulp. They don't want to talk to you because you've been real mean and hard to be around. They're trying to avoid you and stay out of your way because they're afraid they're going to set you off. But see, which meaning you assign will determine how you feel and how you treat people. Isn't that true? And it doesn't just stop there, it continues. Because the truth is, most of you don't communicate all that you feel, and it's a good thing. Because words spoken in a moment of anger, some words like that are never forgotten. But how many of you have forgotten your own home telephone number, address, or how to spell the word the? So you can forget, can't you? Yes. Actually, forgetting is a very useful tool. I may want to teach you before the weekend's up the power of forgetting. Not forgiving, forgetting. Ready? Is it sometimes useful to forget? Especially if what you're forgetting is only your perception. Especially since your memories are nothing but myths anyway. Because if you ask my mother, I bet she'd have a different story. True? That's right. See, the bottom line in life then is we've got to make sure that we assign a meaning that empowers and doesn't disempower. By the way, we don't really know for sure what the meaning is unless we ask. By the way, do we always have to ask? No. Sometimes we can hallucinate that people are coming from the best place. How often would it be useful to hallucinate that people are really coming from positive intention? Yes. See, if you question my behavior, I can probably deal with that. But if you question my intention, that is going to really hurt me. Because I'm going to go, don't we have a relationship? Don't you know who I am? But that's probably not how I'm going to respond. I'll probably respond with a cry for help by being pissed off that you could ever question my integrity or my intent or whether I care about you. I mean, how can you do that after all I've done for you? And then people start justifying and noticing all the things they've done for you. Then they get really even more mad, amped out. Is that true? Okay. So what we've got to really do is we've got to say, okay, I don't know what the meaning is. I'm not sure what the meaning is. But I'm sure that the intent is positive. The person's either stressed or something else, but I know who they are. I remember who this person really is. The moment doesn't matter. This too shall pass. Is that true? Unless I decide to try and hang on to it, not let it pass. Have you ever tried not to let something pass? It gets to be painful after a few days.
Do what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Meaning is an instinct. And meaning is the instinct that guides you in life across the totality of life, right? What's expedient, that's what you might want to do right now in an impulsive sense, right? Because you're driven forward by, anger or anxiety or frustration or disappointment or despair, some sort of one-eyed motivational monster that's got you in its grip that really isn't considering everything at once.
So it's not about who you are. It's about who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there. Become that person. Change the world. Change yourselves.
This life is a complete life by itself. If this is a complete life, it's joyful, loving, wonderful by its own nature. Now, when it's feeling so wonderful, it may want to share this wonderfulness with people around. You can share this with thousands of people, but you also want a more intimate sharing to happen. For that you need one person.
We have a vision. And what a vision is the ability to see that which cannot be seen. That's why we call it vision. It literally lives in our imagination. It is the equivalent of an iceberg. That's what vision is. It's being able to see that which no one else can see because it lies beneath.
And that's where most people shut down. It's like, oh, that really hurts. You throw up the psychological immune system, you explain them away, they don't make as much money as I do, all things will probably be equally true. But where does that get you? It keeps you ignorant to a truth about you, by the way, that the rest of the world knows. In fact, here's something if you're really ready for some truth.